You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Manga Muse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the second part of, What If Naruto Enters Familiar of Zero? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Hussbek on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. It's been about a couple of days since Naruto and Louise went shopping for the former's equipment and possession of Derflinger. It was late into the night that the blonde was swinging the sword in a series of katas as he was getting used to motions of offense and defense. Both the Kyuubi and Derflinger had to hammer it into the blonde's mindset that weapons like swords aren't to be treated like throwing weapons but as extensions of himself united in one body. Naruto completed his katas before letting out a long exhale and staking Derflinger to the grass. "Not bad, partner, but you still have a long way to go," said Derflinger. "I know, I still need to build up my speed and strength which this sword style requires according to the scroll I found in the Scroll of Seals," said Naruto. "Ah, the Amajiri Shinryu style, I am quite familiar with it," said Kyuubi thoughtfully. "You are," thought Naruto. "Yes, it is a sword style created by the Uzumaki clan which made them famous as well, a force to be feared when they were around. Aside from Fuinjutsu, they are also highly proficient in Kenjutsu," the fox explained while reminiscing a certain user using said style. "Wow, I wish I could have met them. Okay then, I'll work hard to mstr the style so it will never die out," thought Naruto with determination. "If only you knew that it is basically your birthright," thought Kyuubi. Naruto went to rinse off the sweat from his face from the water fountain when he heard footsteps approaching him from behind. He tensed up and turned to see who it is and was mildly surprised that it was Siesta. "Oh, Siesta-chan," Naruto greeted with a smile. "Good evening, Naruto, were you doing something?" asked Siesta curiously. "Yeah, I was doing some sword training and was just rinsing the sweat and dirt off before heading back to Louise to rest for the night." "I see, come to think of it, where are you from?" Naruto was silent for a few moments before responding. "How do I put this, it's somewhere far away, very very far." Naruto? I just wanted to say thank you very much." Why are you thanking me?" asked Naruto confusedly, not recalling anything that would warrant gratitude. "You never give up no matter what happens, and you even stand up against nobility despite being a peasant. Seeing you like that has given me a lot of courage. I will continue to do my best all because of you." Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "Gee, thanks, this is the first time anyone truly complimented me." "Good night, Naruto," said Siesta with a bow. "You too, Siesta-chan." Naruto watched as Siesta walked away from him before he resumed washing his face and went to pick up Derflinger with the sword, noticing the strange expression on the blonde ninja's face, and called out to him. "What's the matter, partner?" asked Derflinger. "I'm not so sure myself, just the way Siesta-chan said goodnight to me felt strange for some reason," Naruto replied before making his way back to Louise's room and took a shortcut by walking up the side of the building, then entered through the window, surprising the Pinkette and getting yelled at by her. The next day, Naruto followed Louise to the classroom, but she stopped him at the doorway much to his confusion while the other students walked by to enter. "What's the matter, Louise?" asked Naruto with a tilt of his head. "From now on, you'll wait outside with the other familiars until classes are over," said Louise. "Why's that?" "Because you snore, might peek up a girl's skirt or cause a distraction in general. I don't want to be any more embarrassed as is." Naruto frowned in response. "Hey, I don't snore and I'm not a perv. I recall that I was reading from the Fuinjutsu scroll and hardly made a sound. Look, just stay put until classes are over, okay?" Alright. Naruto was currently outside at the corner of the courtyard near the school building with the familiars, he was meditating to calmly control the flow of the chakra throughout his body but was having a couple of problems at the moment. He felt something slightly wet on his cheek and looked only to be startled by a green and yellow snake with a red gem on its forehead as it was licking his cheek. It wasn't the only one, cause Kerchi's familiar flame was also prodding its head against his knee, in an attempt to get his attention. Hey, take it easy you two. I'm trying mediate over here. Naruto tried to gently push them away but they persisted and soon other familiars joined them. Sigh, now I know how Irika-sensei and Hokage-Gigi feel when I do stuff to get their attention. It's called irony, BRT. What are you going to do now? Asked Kyubi. Might as well get to know these familiars while I'm before heading over to the kitchen to get some grub since I haven't eaten any much this morning, thought Naruto. He took to observing the familiars and was quick to note that they bore many similarities to the animals back home and in books but could tell that they possess special abilities upon recalling Flame almost roasting those guys that night in Kerchi's room, and it appears that the familiars are just as curious about him as well, given how they kept approaching him and prodding with their heads and tails but were friendly nonetheless. Naruto eventually left the familiars and headed towards the kitchen where he saw Marteau and others hard at work before the former noticed him and waved merrily in greeting. Hey, it's our fist. What brings you here? Asked Marteau, getting the other workers to wave in greeting as well. Hello Marteau-san, just thought I could drop by and say hello since I got a bit bored and stuff, Naruto replied. Well, you came at the right time because we got some food left which you can eat. Wow, thanks a lot. Naruto soon settled down and was helping himself to the food given to him. I feel really bad for mooching off you guys. How about I help you out as a way of repayment? No need to be modest, they're just leftovers for the nobles, Marteau shrugged it off. I really won't mind if you let me help, Naruto persisted. By the way, have you seen Siesta-chan? I haven't seen her all morning. Marteau looked at the blonde in confusion. She didn't tell you? Siesta has quit working here. Naruto almost choked on his food before looking at the chef in shock. She quit? Yeah, it was sudden but it was decided that she would be a servant for a nobleman called Count Mott. She was picked up and carried away in a carriage this morning. But how come? This is too sudden. Naruto protested. In the end, peasants can do nothing but obey every word of the nobles. I better get back work, said Marteau before walking away to do just that. Siesta, Naruto thought back to last night. No wonder why it felt so strange, it was like you were saying goodbye to me. Later on, Naruto was back in the dorm with Louise and asked her for information about this particular nobleman. The Pinkette found the question odd but complied nonetheless. From what I know, Count Mott is a messenger from the palace and comes to the institute occasionally. Personally, I don't like him because of his cocky attitude. I'm getting the idea that it's the same for a majority of these nobles, thought Naruto, but why would Siesta go to work for someone like him? Derflinger was the one to answer. When a nobleman requests a young girl by her name, it's usually in order to become his MSTRS. Are you for real? Asked Naruto in shock, already having a clear idea of what the sword meant. I often hear stories like that. Nobles come in all sorts, said Louise as if it is the truth. Naruto looked out the window with a small frown, then he heard the Kyubi speak in his mind. You're planning on something stupid, aren't you? This is none of your concern, said Kyubi. Call it however you want, I intend on bringing Siesta-chan back here. The thought of a noble taking her as a MSTRS on a whim sickens me, thought Naruto angrily. The first thing he needs to do is learn of where the noble lives. Can't ask Louise as it's obvious that she would object, so I'll need to ask someone else, and I know just the one. The blonde ninja waited till Louise wasn't in need of him before heading down in search of the person he was looking for. Sure enough, he found Goichi at the fountain attempting to woo Montmorency with a brooch and approached them while shaking his head at this. You really expect me to forget about what happened with a mystical brooch? Asked Montmorency with a quirked eyebrow. Don't tell me you believe what that vulgar familiar said, said Goichi. Naruto spoke up with a smirk. I didn't need to say a thing since your actions exposed you. Goichi shot up to his feet with a wary look on his face, recalling moments when he saw the odd familiar training in ways unbelievable unless seen. Naruto, are you going to get in the way of someone's romance again? I needn't bother since you would that on your own, the reason I'm here is to ask about something. What is it? Into the night, Naruto arrived at the walls surrounding a fancy mansion which is where Count Mott resides thanks to the directions given to him by Guiche. Perhaps he could cut the guy some slack for now, not so much given how he failed to alert him of the distance. He was thinking of how to infiltrate when he figured that he would do it another way. Sure enough, he was inside of the mansion after purposely letting his presence be known by the guards in order to meet the Count. Naruto took one look at the man and thought of one thing: the guy looks more like a clown than a noble. So, what business do you have with me, peasant? Asked Mott arrogantly. I was hoping to ask if you could release Siesta from her service to you, said Naruto. Mott scoffed in response. I was thinking that it would be something worthwhile. Go home and be glad that you've even been graced with my presence. Geez, how full of themselves are these nobles, thought Naruto angrily. I did not come with empty hands, as I am willing to offer my service in her place with my set of unique skills. What kind of relationship do you have with Siesta? She and I are workmates at the institute, but in different institutes. So, you're a servant of the institute. I doubt you're capable of services which only a female is capable of, said Mott with a perv look on his face. Hearing this angered Naruto. Hey, I said my skills will be more useful to you. Draw your head out of the gutter, you mustache perv. You dare insult me, peasant, said Mott angrily, with his guards becoming aggressive. I call it as I see it. It appears you need to be taught where you truly belong. Mott went over to pick up a medium-sized staff with a blue-colored part on the bottom and the middle. Its head is spherical and is most likely made of wood given its brown color. Naruto jumped back and got ready to fight them when the doors suddenly burst open and Siesta, dressed in a pink maid's outfit which exposed certain parts of her body, rushed in and knelt before Mott in a panic. Count, please forgive this individual's rudeness. Siesta pleaded with the noble. What you doing, Siesta? Asked Naruto with a frown. How could I overlook the insult by this peasant? Move out of the way so I shall teach him a lesson he shall never forget. Mott demanded. I beg of you, sir, I shall accept any punishment if only you spare him. That's enough, Siesta-chan, move out of the way, said Naruto. Naruto, is it? You said that you are willing to offer any service to me, did you not? Asked Mott. Yes, I did. Why? Naruto crossed his arms with a frown. My hobby is to collect printed matter. Actually, there's a book I cannot cease to longing. What kind of book is it? It's a book which a certain mage chanced to summon it in an experiment. I hear that it is an heirloom of an established family in Germania. The daughter of that family is currently in the institute. A girl from Germania? Could it be? Naruto muttered thoughtfully to himself. I'm not sure if a peasant like you would know of her, but she is of the Zerbst family, said Mott. You mean Kirchi-san? Asked Naruto, realizing who it is. Seems you do know of her. If you bring the Zerbst family heirloom to me, then I'll give Siesta back to you. Naruto looked deep in thought before responding with a nod. All right then, I'll go and get that book. He turned around and left with Siesta looking on in worry. Naruto, Siesta muttered softly. Naruto was leaping through the trees as fast as he could back to the institute. He couldn't help but feel that the noble isn't too keen on keeping his word and had to hurry while trying to come up with a way for Kirchi to give up the heirloom. He was snapped out of his thoughts upon hearing the sound of a horse galloping towards and recognized the rider. Louise? Naruto landed in the open road for her to see him and bring the horse to a stop. I guess she found out. What in the world are you thinking? Get on so we can head back, said Louise in anger. Naruto could only comply and rode with her back to the academy. They went to the dorm room where he explained everything to Louise. You're dealing with someone of higher standings compared to Goiche. I know that already, but I want help, Siesta. Don't you feel sorry that she forced to work for a perv? Asked Naruto. I feel sorry for her, but it can't be helped. Naruto was flabbergasted to hear that from her. How could you say something like that? Siesta-chan has been nothing but helpful to us. Look, just give up on Siesta and go to bed, okay? Said Louise before going to bed. Fine, Naruto silently complied and went to lay down on the heap of hay. Lights were turned off and few minutes later Louise was fast asleep. Naruto stood up as he had been pretending to be sleeping. No way, I'm giving up on Siesta. He silently snuck out of the room to avoid waking the pinkette, now to find Kirchi and ask her for the book. Naruto knocked on the door and was allowed into Kirchi's room, where he explained everything to her and asked about the book. Our family heirloom, I think I know the one. Kirchi picked up her wand and flicked it, making a chest open up for an book encased in protective casing to float out of it and into her hands. I'm not like Tabitha, who loves reading books, so I can let this one go without trouble. So, you had it the whole time? Asked Naruto. Yes, my parents made me bring it along with me as preparation for marriage. What do you mean by that? Apparently, this book stimulates a male's SXL desires. Naruto rolled his eyes at. That explains so much why that perv clown wants it badly. I don't need something like this in the first place. I believe you know why. Kirchi slowly traced a finger along her melons down to her very alluring negligee, something Naruto had been struggling to avoid staring at the whole time, with a tinge of pink on his cheeks. Why yeah, Naruto replied in a flustered manner. So, I don't mind giving it to you. Really? Thanks, I'll be sure to make it up to you, said Naruto happily. I already have an idea of a favor, a dinner and a conversation under the night sky. You did say we should get to know each other, said Kirchi with a smile. Thanks very much, Kirchi-chan, you really are different from the other nobles. Those guys care more about themselves over others. I'm happy to see that you're not like that, said Naruto with a foxy grin. Kirchi couldn't help but feel her heart flutter at his expression. He really wears his heart on his sleeves, it makes him so cute, thought Kirchi as she watched him leave through the window and making his way out of the school. Then a small frown appeared on her face as a certain thought crossed her mind and went to put on her uniform to go and speak to someone. Naruto arrived back at Mott's mansion much sooner than before, since he used chakra to increase his speed. He was escorted to the main hall, where he found the noble waiting for him, albeit holding his wand, much to the blonde's slight confusion, but went on to present the book. Here, I got the book and now it's your turn to let Siesta-chan go, said Naruto with the book held out. However, Mott scoffed in response, do you take me for a fool? That you're actually holding the Zerbst family heirloom in your hand? Naruto quirked an eyebrow in confusion, what are you talking about? This is the book, I received it from Kirchi-chan herself. No noble is whimsical enough to simply hand over a treasure to a mere peasant. I wanted to see you struggle. Wasn't expecting you to attempt deceiving me with a pathetic imitation. So, you were never intending to hold up your end of the deal, were you? Asked Naruto all too calmly. Mott scoffed in response, as if the actions of a peasant would be worth anything to me. Naruto tossed the book aside. If there's one of the few things I hate, it's when someone goes back on a deal, which is no different to breaking a promise. He channeled chakra into a seal on his right wrist, causing a throwing knife to appear in his head. Seeing this made the guards take aggressive stances. So, you draw out a blade at me. I have never seen a foolish peasant such as you, said Mott as he brandished his magic staff. Naruto simply glared in response, quit talking and actually show me your worth as a noble, maybe beating you up will change your tune. I am known as Mott the Surge, a triangle-class mage. Allow me to show you my prowess in my magic. He pointed his staff towards a vase on a nearby table for it to topple to the ground and the water to pool out of it. He waved his staff once more for a stream of water to shoot out of the pool and rush towards, but the blonde ninja sharply dodged with a dash to the side. Nobleman scowled at this and made the water WHP attack him once. Naruto continued to evade with short dashes and flips with hardly much. Never thought I could move this well, must be because of all that training, thought Naruto before looking at Mott with a smirk. For a mage, you sure are a lousy shot. Can't even hit a supposed peasant. If you won't shut your filthy mouth, I'll shut it for you. Mott transformed the water into multiple spears of ice before launching them with every intent to kill. Naruto twirled the throwing knife into a reverse grip before darting from left to right rapidly to evade the ice spears and deflecting any which got too close for comfort until the barrage ended. That was when he swiftly took to the offensive by launching the throwing knife at Mott's hand to inflict a cut which was more than enough to make the nobleman drop his staff with a cry of pain. Seeing this made the guards move in to attack with Naruto at the ready. He bobbed and weaved with his upper body while stepping from left to right to avoid the thrusts from their spears before rapidly initiating the counterattack Amajiraiya Shinryu style, Kurowabarai. Naruto darted forward to position himself behind one of the guards to grab the back of his opponent's collar, then he lifted him into air with a flip before slamming him down onto the ground before Naruto pounded his elbow into the guard's chest to knock him. Sensing an attack from behind, Naruto immediately leapt into the air to avoid a spear move from behind by the remaining guard Amajiraiya Shinryu style, Fuaguruma. Naruto twisted his body in midair towards the guard then kicked his face 3 times with the third kick knocking him out. Mott watched in disbelief. He couldn't help but question if this is merely an illusion casted by another mage or a dream for a peasant to be capable of such skills, defending against magic without magic, defeating armed guards with no weapons. He scrambled for the magic staff on the floor only for a throwing knife to strike the ground inches between his fingers and the staff, looking up only to pale upon seeing Naruto staring at him with his hand outstretched to show that he was the one to have thrown the knife. By now you should be thinking if this person is capable of such skill, then why didn't he do so before? Because I at least tried to be civil unlike you, said Naruto with a glare. Now, let's have another talk and this time you will listen. Naruto was about to say more when the doors suddenly burst open and he turned around to be mildly surprised upon seeing Louise along with Kirchi and Tabitha barge inside the mansion. Louise was about to reprimand Naruto but she and the girls were shocked at what they're seeing. Naruto stood completely unscathed. Mott's guards laid on the ground unconscious and the Count himself is on his knees with a hand bleeding and his staff on the floor next to him. Seeing all this summarized to one conclusion, Naruto has defeated a noble yet again and a triangle-class mage at that. Naruto, what have you done? Louise exclaimed. Before you start yelling, let me tell you that none of this would have happened if that team hadn't gone back on the deal, said Naruto, pointing at Mott in annoyance. Mott scoffed in response, and you still expect me to believe that the daughter of the Zerbst family willingly parted with their heirloom to a peasant? If that is what you were thinking then you're mistaken Count Mott, said Kirchi after picking up the book. Who are you? Pardon my belated introduction, I am Kirchi von Zerbst, said Kirchi with a bow. Why you're the daughter of the Zerbst family? Then that means, Mott spoke in shock and dawning realization. Indeed, I handed over the heirloom to Naruto to help him. Kirchi handed the book back to Naruto who nodded in gratitude. I felt that I should come and make sure that everything would go smoothly as well as prove that the heirloom is genuine but it seems that we came a bit late. Just who is this peasant to you? Asked Mott in confusion. He is the familiar of Louise Françoise Leblanc de la Valliere and happens to be a friend of mine. Kirchi glanced to see Naruto smiling at her. I see, then pardon my haste in judgment. Yeah right, you were looking forward to killing me, thought Naruto before walking forward and held out the book to him. Will you now hold up to the agreement? Of course I will. Siesta shall be returned back to the institute. Mott gingerly took the book into his hands. Are you sure you're fine with letting your heirloom go? Asked Louise, still trying to understand all this involving Naruto's crazy actions. I took a look inside it some time ago and found no need of what's inside, said Kirchi with a shrug. Mott unlocked the casing before opening the book as a perv look appeared on his face upon seeing the content. I don't know what language the letters are in, but to think there's such a thing from the other world. He tossed the casing away to reveal the book cover only for Naruto to have his jaw drop in shock. Are you for real a PN mag? Naruto muttered in disbelief. You know what it is? Asked Naruto. Yeah I do, I can read the words since I know the language. Just looks different from what I'm familiar with, said Naruto. Well my grandfather was the one to have summoned it years ago, said Kirchi. Could he have summoned it from the elemental nations? Naruto uttered with the girls wondering what he was talking about. They all returned to the academy with a grateful Siesta in tow. Naruto personally escorted her back to the quarters. I am truly grateful for your help Naruto, this is a debt I might never be able to repay, said Siesta with a bow. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. I didn't do it so you could owe me a favor. You helped me when I was in a tight spot, it only makes sense that I would do the same for you when you're in trouble. He was unprepared when Siesta walked right up to Hai and stood on the tips of her toes to kiss Naruto on the cheek before running off with tinge of pink on her cheeks. Good night. Siesta called out as she ran. Naruto slowly raised a hand to touch the spot where she kissed him, his heart was pounding against his ribcage like a jackhammer. He never would have thought that he would be kissed willingly by a girl. A warm feeling began building up from within him as a small gentle smile appeared on his face. Good night. The blonde ninja went over to wait for Louise at the stables. She walked past him without saying a word. Naruto felt a bit guilty. He may have helped Siesta but in turn caused trouble for Louise as well. Louise, I want to say I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble today. I just wanted to help Siesta since she's been helpful to us. Be quiet for a bit, I'm trying to come up with a suitable punishment for you, said Louise, looking back at him with a glare. I'm really sorry, if you were in trouble too then I would do everything to save you, even if I have to fight the nobles to do it, said Naruto. Louise looked back in shock at his proclamation, his eyes show no lie and tone of voice depicting the seriousness in the statement. She recalled his training as well as victory over Guiche and now Count Mott. This boy goes against the very fact that nobles are dement over peasants. Oh, of course, it's obvious since you're my familiar after all. Let's head back to my room. It's late enough as it is. Louise resumed her walk but was blushing for some reason. Sure thing, Naruto followed after her, making plans for more training in the next day. Come on, do it. Louise's voice could be heard angrily from the window of her room. And for the last time, I won't. Naruto responded just as aggravated. Why not? I'm trying to help draw out a talent which might be hidden inside. First, what you're trying to have me do makes no sense. Second, I've done training far more serious than this if you recall. And most importantly, why exactly are you doing this? Naruto pointed out. Louise opened her mouth to retort but paused as she thought back to what this odd familiar of hers has done so far up to this point. He defeated a young with strange magic, can walk up on walls vertically with no hands, once saw him walk on the water surface of the fountain, use strange writings to perform specific functions, becoming adept in swordplay. And the crowning milestone being that he was able to defeat a triangle-class mage with bare hands and few throwing knives. She has no other choice than to admit that her blonde familiar is very strong and is training to be more so. The reason is that I had completely forgotten about the exhibition which is just around the corner, said Louise. Naruto tilted his head to the side with his arms crossed. Exhibition, what is it all about? It's a gathering that happens every year where students exhibit their summoned familiars to the whole institute. Also, it is mandatory for second-year students to participate, Louise explained. So, you mean that it's like a talent show for familiars? Naruto queried. Something like that. Don't you have something that could impress the crowd like that duplication spell of yours? I keep telling you that it's the shadow clone jutsu, they aren't spells. Naruto sighed at the misidentification, but I can come up with something, especially since I'm training on some jutsu as of now with my clones working on them at our training spot. Louise perked up at that. Really, what are they? Can't tell you just yet, but now you brought this up. I'll start working on a way to show off my skills. Time to let the world know that Naruto Uzumaki is here and he's taking no prisoners. Databayo, said Naruto excitedly with eyes of determination. Please try not to do anything to embarrass me, said Louise with a groan. Don't worry Louise-chan, you won't be embarrassed but regarded with awe once I show them my stuff. I'm off to train. Naruto picked up Derflinger and leapt through the open window to run down the wall. Louise had gotten used to his forms of exit at this point. Sigh, I hope so, but why do I feel like he's going to do something outrageous again, said Louise. So, what ya got in mind for this partner, asked Derflinger. I'm working on it, but I'll definitely come up with something that is certain to get the job done, said Naruto. It'd better be good, know that you're also representing me as well, said Kyubi. I'll keep that in mind as well. Just when will I be ready for the elemental jutsu? Once I've seen that you have a satisfactory level of chakra control, you're almost at that point since you've been combining the chakra exercises to increase that level of control. Like the fox said, Naruto had been combining the exercises like leaf concentration with either the tree climbing or water walking exercise, also sparring with his clones with either kenjutsu or taijutsu when on the water or sticking to vertical surfaces. Naruto was snapped out of his thoughts when he heard someone call his name. "Oh, is that you, Naruto?" Naruto turned to see that it was Siesta approaching him with a wooden bucket in hand. "Siesta-chan." Naruto blushed upon recalling the kiss which she gave on his cheek that night. How's it going?" "I am well. Are you by any chance on your way to make preparations for the exhibition?" asked Siesta curiously. Naruto nodded in affirmation. "Yeah, it sounds like a big deal around here, so I need to do some additional training for it." The second years share the same mindset as they're training their familiars seriously. Especially since Lady Henrietta will be coming to watch this year. "Lady Henrietta, who is she?" asked Naruto curiously. "She's the princess of this kingdom and is the symbol admired by everyone ever since the king passed away," Siesta explained. "Whoa, she sounds popular." "Oh, I almost forgot to tell you something." Siesta placed the bucket down, then held Naruto's hand in hers whilst looking straight into his eyes. "Please do your best as well, Naruto." "Oh, okay," Naruto stammered in response. He watched as Siesta picked up the bucket and went on her. His stomach felt kind of weird. He doesn't dislike it. "Whoa, getting kinda hot around here," said Derflinger teasingly. Shut Derf, it's just something new for me to be cheered on by a girl. The ones back home never gave me the time of the day but rather on an emo with duck-ass hair," Naruto mumbled before straightening himself. "Now I've really gotta give it my all at the exhibition so as not to disappoint Louise-chan and Siesta-chan." Naruto continued on his way to his training whilst noting some of the second-year students doing some preparations with their familiars. Kirchi was having her fire salamander manipulate its flames in various ways, Malicorn was giving his owl familiar commands, Montmorency was trying to dress up her frog familiar albeit with any kind of success, and Goiche was doing something with his mole familiar if the gold sparkles around them have anything to do with it, and Tabitha is simply reading a book. Naruto's sweat dropped at all this and continued on his way to his spot where he saw his shadow clones doing various activities like meditation, fuinjutsu writing, the chakra exercises, and sparring in both taijutsu and kenjutsu. "Hey guys, we got an event coming up and need to work up a performance that no one will be forgetting anytime soon," said Naruto. "Roger that, boss," the clones responded with gusto. He and the clones proceeded to train and plan into the night before returning to sleep for the next day. In the afternoon, there weren't any lectures for the day as the Princess of Tristane will be making her arrival today. Naruto stood with Louise amongst the students at the school gate, watching a line of carriages being drawn by horses, although the blonde ninja saw that some of them had horns protruding from their foreheads. The maids exited from the carriages and went to open the door of the carriage which stood out from the others in terms of color and design for someone to step out. She has short purple hair and teal blue eyes while her outfit consists of a purple cloak, white silk dress with tight sleeves that reach up to her fingers, white stockings and white high-heeled shoes, and she wears a diadem on her head. "That's the Princess of Tristane, she looks so pretty," said Naruto, looking at the princess in awe. "Be quiet, you're just a familiar, so stop being rude," said Louise. Naruto was about to retort when he noticed how Louise was smiling at the princess. A smile of nostalgia, as if she knew her more personally than anyone else. Later that night, Naruto and Louise were having a discussion concerning tomorrow, with the latter being annoyed due to the blonde not telling her everything aside from the minor details of what he is going to do. "Won't just tell me what you have planned besides using your sword and chakra thing of yours?" asked Louise. "No can do, I want it to be a surprise for you and everyone." "It's gonna be epic," said Naruto with a smirk. "My partner is right, seeing it myself will definitely knock those nobles for a loop," said Derflinger. "So you say, but how would I be so sure that it won't make my reputation any worse than it is?" asked Louise. Naruto knew the cause for her worry. "I assure you, Louise-chan, what I will do will change how people will look at you, even if it's bit by bit." They were snapped out of their conversation by the sound of knocking on their door, much to their confusion. "A guest, at this time of the night," said Louise, but then frowned. It had better not be Kirchi. "I'll see who it is." Naruto walked to the door and opened it, only for a cloaked figure to rush inside and shut it behind them. "Hey, who are you?" Naruto unsealed a dagger from his left wrist seal and prepared to attack. The cloaked stranger began waving their hands in a panic. "W8. I'm not an intruder. Louise's ears perked up upon hearing the rather familiar feminine voice. That voice, is it? Then show us who you are. Naruto edged closer with the dagger glinting. Oh okay, the figure brought down her hood to reveal a face which surprised everyone in the room. Why, your highness, said Louise in shock. It's been so long, hasn't it, said Henrietta with a soft smile, then she turned to Naruto. I'm sorry for the misunderstanding. And no, it's okay. I wasn't expecting a princess to come in here at this time of the night, said Naruto apologetically, sealing away his dagger and rubbing the back of his head while feeling no small amount of awkwardness. You done goofed, said Kyubi in amusement. Shut it, furball. To come upon the humble abode of someone like myself, you shouldn't have done so. Louise went down on a knee to bow. Henrietta shook her head at this. Please stop with the formalities, Louise, I don't want that, especially from you. We're friends after all. But those words are wasted upon me, Louise refuted. How do you two know each other? Asked Naruto curiously. I was given the honor of being her playmate when we were children, Louise explained. Please say, childhood friends. Henrietta held Louise up with teary eyes. How I have wanted to see you again. Ever since father passed, I wasn't able to open my heart out to anyone. Princess, I was surprised when I received a letter from you, said Louise. A letter, is that why you were so worried about the performance? I get it now, said Naruto in understanding before leaping away when Louise attempted to grab him. He had long since learned to be ready to avoid her at any time. Be quiet, why are you standing around so callously in front of the princess, said Louise angrily. Naruto rolled his eyes in response. You keep forgetting that I don't exactly know these kinds of things, frankly I don't think I want to. It's that kind of attitude that annoys me to no end. Henrietta giggled softly at this. It is quite alright, I prefer it this way so you can be at ease, Mr. Familiar. Thanks, and you can call me Naruto Uzumaki, said Naruto with a foxy grin, quickly raising a forearm to block a swing from Louise with the pinkette pulling away her hand which was aching from the self-inflicted harm to herself. Why you, please forgive my familiar as he has no manners, said Louise, glaring at Naruto. Ain't that the truth, said Kyubi. Naruto's eye twitched at that. So much that he stood up against Count Mott and defeated him, said Henrietta, shocking the two. She looked at Naruto who felt a bit self-conscious. I have been wanting to meet you. I was curious about the kind of person you are. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. It's just that I wanted to help a friend of mine no matter what. Henrietta smiled upon hearing that. I see. She saw that Louise was worried. It caused quite a stir in the castle, but be rest assured that there will be no punishment. Princess, you. I haven't forgotten that promise I made to you when we were children, to help you out of any bind. I am a princess for now though. Whoa, you're such a nice princess. Louise-chan is so lucky to be friends with you, said Naruto happily. I am just as grateful that she's my friend. She really has summoned an interesting familiar. Henrietta smiled. She couldn't help but find the boy's disposition to be able to draw her to him. On the contrary, a vulgar, crude and bad-mannered creature like him is the biggest mistake of my life. Louise refuted. Naruto glared at her. Hey, just what exactly did I do that was perv to anyone? You practically forced me to wash your underwear when I refused to do that. Louise blushed in embarrassment and brought out her WHP. How can you say that in front of the princess? She went to attack Naruto with the blonde jumping to the ceiling and hanging from there to get out of the range of her attacks. Henrietta watched this with amusement and tried to hold back her laughter. Soon enough, it was time for the princess to leave, much to her disappointment since she wanted to be with them for a bit longer but didn't want to risk being found either. That was the most fun I've had in the past few years, thank you Louise, said Henrietta happily before embracing Louise who responded in kind. The same goes for me, princess, said Louise with a soft smile. Naruto smiled at the both of them and couldn't help but feel a tinge of jealousy at their friendship, something he didn't have back in Konoha. Henrietta broke from the hug and looked at Naruto. Mr. Naruto, please do your best tomorrow. The blonde ninja blushed a bit before responding with confidence. I will, I'll show you what I can do. And call me Naruto, no need for formalities like you said before. Are you ever going to act respectful? Guess I'm gonna have to teach you. Louise angrily brought out her WHP only for Naruto to swiftly snatch it out of her hands and easily snap it in two. Gonna be a long time before that happens, said Naruto, Louise snarled. Henrietta pulled up the hood over her head and turned her back to them, as I thought freedom really is the best treasure. The duo looked at the princess in confusion of her statement with Louise speaking, Princess? Good night. Henrietta closed the door and left without saying any more. What did she mean by that, thought Naruto, wondering what she meant by those words and why she sounded so sad when she spoke. The day of the exhibition had finally come as everyone were seated at the school courtyard with Henrietta seated underneath a tent separate from the students and teaching staff before the large stage set up for where the second-year students would exhibit the talents of their summoned familiars and be judged. We will now begin the presentation of this year's familiars, announcer declared with the crowd chattering excitedly about what was to come. Soon the event was underway. Kirchi showed off the fire manipulation skills of her fire salamander while striking SNSL poses to rile up the male section of the audience. Montmorency had her frog familiar dance to the tune of her violin. Malicorn had his owl familiar carry one end of a long streamer into the air. Guiche and his mole struck a pose while laying on a bed of red roses with the former holding one in his mouth, and Tabitha displayed the flying skills of her wind dragon and had it land softly on the stage amidst applause. And that was the familiar of Tabitha the Snowy Wind, said Colbert. Naruto and Louise were in the other tent, waiting to be called upon. The former remained determined whilst the latter was rather nervous about all this. Are you sure of what you are going to do is good enough? Asked Louise. Naruto nodded in affirmation. Trust me Louise-chan, I'm gonna steal the show. Colbert then called out, next up Louise Françoise de Lavalier. Louise let out a sigh, let's go. They climbed up to the stage and stood before the crowd. Let me introduce you all to my familiar, Naruto Uzumaki. His type is A. She was finding it difficult to say what comes next with Naruto looking at her with concern. Go for it, Louise the Zero, said Malicorn out loud. Naruto frowned inwardly, that fatso better shut it or I'm gonna prank him. Louise glanced sideways to see Henrietta smiling at her warmly while sitting next to the headmaster of the academy, silently encouraging her to continue. His type is a peasant. Louise declared, immediately receiving laughter from the crowd as they jeered at her. He's a peasant type. That's his social rank. Just what we expect from Louise the Zero. She sure meets expectations. Shut up. Everyone was immediately silenced as they including Louise looked at the source being a very angry Naruto who was glaring at everyone sans Henrietta and Siesta who had taken the time from work to watch. I've had just about enough of you all looking down on Louise-chan. I wanted to show off my skills for fun, but now I'm gonna display my skill to send a message to every single one of you. Naruto turned to Louise with eyes of fiery determination. I'll need you to get off the stage for I am about to do. Naruto, Louise looked at her familiar numbly before doing as told. Naruto turned to face the crowd. Alright then, let's get started. He crossed the middle and index fingers of both hands together, shadow clone jutsu, there a large puff of smoke which then reveal about 10 copies of Naruto, making everyone's jaw drop in shock and disbelief especially those that weren't present during his duel against Goichi with said person shivering at the memory. Let's do this, guys. Roger boss. The clones jumped away and surrounded him as he took a combative stance. The first clone rushed in and launched a straight punch with great speed for Naruto to parry it with a forearm and counter with and spinning high kick to the face to dispel in a puff of smoke. The next clone rapidly closed in and unleashed a barrage of punches and kicks with Naruto responding to the attacks with blocks and parries before seizing an opportunity to land an elbow strike to the clone's stomach and followed up with a rising knee to the face to finish it off. Two more clones now attacked from different sides, forcing Naruto to constantly alternate between the two as he defended himself. He ducked to trip a clone with a low sweep kick, maintained his momentum to knock the other clone out with an uppercut, then flipped into the air to stomp on the fallen clone with both feet to dispel it. A clone brandished a dagger and attempted to stab him from behind, but Naruto sensed him and dashed to the side whilst unsealing his own dagger from a wrist seal to exchange a flurry of clashes with the clone as everyone watched in awe. Even the knights themselves were finding it very difficult to keep up with the blonde's movements and speed. They can't bring themselves to think that this battle was something staged but an actual fight. Naruto maintained defense until deflecting a stab to the side and jabbing at the clone's throat to make it stagger backwards while choking. Then he jumped into the air with a foot raised above his head before descending to land an axe kick on the clone's head and driving it down to the ground with sufficient force to dispel it. "You really lucked out, Goichi. He would have done something like this to you during your duel," said Kirchi. Please, don't give him any ideas," said Goichi fearfully. "He might if you annoy him enough," said Montmorency, "still haven't forgiven him completely for cheating on her." Astounding, could this be the power of the Gandalf, thought Colbert. Naruto rolled his shoulders a bit after the recent clash when the last clone took out a scroll to place it on the ground and unroll it to reveal the seals, then slamming a palm to channel chakra into them to unseal a wooden log with a target drawn on it, had to make do with charcoal since he couldn't get his hands on paint. "Boss, it's all set up," the clone called out. "All right then, time for the finale." Naruto tossed the dagger into the air, then formed a hand sign, kunai shadow clone jutsu. The dagger overhead duplicated into multiple solid copies of itself before falling towards Naruto, who proceeded to catch each of them and throw rapidly with spins and flips at the wooden target without missing one before leaping to grab the last one while upside down in midair to throw at the target and landing in a crouch with his back to it. The clone rotated the target to the audience, revealing that he had used the daggers to form the symbol of the Hidden Leaf Village. "And one more thing, Louise was wrong about me being a peasant type. Naruto Uzumaki is a shinobi, and don't you forget that," said Naruto with a smirk as he dispelled everything in a puff of smoke with a hand sign before getting off the stage with the crowd stunned to silence. "And that was Louise Françoise de la Valliere," said Colbert after finally snapping back into focus. The crowd began to chatter amongst themselves. "He just keeps making me even more interested in him," said Kirchi excitedly. Tabitha didn't respond but was looking at Naruto with narrowed eyes. "Just where does this peasant come from to fight like that? I don't know of any mage or knight with skills like those," said Montmorency. "Naruto, you're so amazing," said Siesta in awe. "Most astounding, wouldn't you agree, Your Highness?" asked the principal. Henrietta nodded in affirmation. "Indeed it is." Back in the tent, Naruto was smiling at Louise. "What do you think of that?" "No doubt, they'll think twice before trying to make fun of you." Louise mumbled something. "Huh, what did you say?" "And nothing. It doesn't concern you. At the very least, you have done well and represented me correctly." The pinkette turned away with her arms crossed, not letting him see the expression on her face. Okay," said Naruto. "The gal's shy or proud to say thanks," said Derflinger. "Shut up, you rusted piece of metal." "Okay guys, just chill. Naruto paused as he looked in a certain direction. "What's the matter?" asked Louise, confused at the blonde's change in behavior. "I heard a strange sound and the ground shook a bit." Naruto frowned in focus. "It must be your imagination." "I don't think so, I'm gonna check it out." Naruto took off towards where he was sure he heard the sound and felt the rumble. Hey, wait up. They're about to announce the winner." Louise ran after the blonde ninja. They went around the tower and came upon a giant made out of stone, and it was currently punching at the tower, which appears to be protected by a magic barrier. "That's a golem," said Louise in shock. "A golem, what's that?" asked Naruto, his body tense to respond to anything. "Now's not the time for questions, partner. Look sharp," Derflinger interjected. Naruto looked and saw what the sentient sword meant as the golem reached out to grab them. He scooped Louise into his arms and leapt out of the way to avoid getting caught, then moving a fair distance away from it. "Naruto, look up there. Someone's riding on the golem." Louise pointed above the golem's head. Naruto looked to see a woman whose face is concealed with a hood but could make out green hair sticking out from within it. "You're out of luck, there's nothing you can do to stop me," said the hooded woman arrogantly. "We'll see about that." Naruto placed Louise down on the ground. "Get to safety, Louise-chan. I'll take her on." Louise refuted. "I can help." "No, I got this." Naruto crouched slightly with his hands forming a hand sign as chakra surged from his body then pooled around his feet. He took off with speed higher than what he displayed during the exhibition. "It's useless, grab him golem," the hooded woman commanded. The golem reached out with a hand to grab Naruto but the blonde ninja easily outpaced it, going around to launch an attack from behind but skidded to a stop and dashing out of the way of a stomp from the golem which began to stomp after Naruto. The blonde ninja maintained his speed and continued to evade the attacks all the while keeping his focus on his true target being the hooded woman controlling the golem. "Hold on Naruto, I'll help." Louise stepped forward and brandished her wand. "No, stay back." Naruto protested but she refused to listen. In X-Bet Flame Fireball. Louise aimed her wand but it triggered an explosion near Naruto which almost knocked him to the ground but he managed to recover by rolling along the ground and somersaulting back up to his feet. "What the heck, Louise-chan? Are you trying to help me or BL me up?" said Naruto angrily. The woman was laughing at all this. "Is that supposed to be a spell? It's more of a failure just like you." Louise growled at the insult but saw the golem about to grab her when she suddenly felt her body being shifted and was now standing next to Naruto and in her place was a wooden log. "I told you to get to safety," said Naruto in annoyance. "Don't be stupid, you're my familiar and a MSTR doesn't abandon their familiar." Louise responded with determination. Naruto was taken aback by her declaration and felt touched by it before snapping back into focus. "I understand, but the reason why I wanted you to stay back was because I wanted to keep you out of range of what I'm about to do," said Naruto, stepping forward. "What is it?" asked Louise confusedly. "You're about to find out, just enjoy the show." Naruto took off once more and this time crossed the middle and index fingers of both hands together as he ran. Shadow Clone Jutsu. He conjured a large number of clones as they ran up along the golem's body and proceeded to latch onto several parts of its body albeit some of them got caught and crushed in its clutches. "As surprising as it is to see a peasant use magic, how do you hope to stop me and my golem?" the hooded woman retorted. "Like this, show her guys." Naruto called out. "Okay boss." The clones began to glow then they proceeded to explode like bombs, destroying the golem much to the woman's shock. Naruto smirked in response. "That's my shadow clone explosion jutsu, I turn my clones into actual walking bombs. By the way, you let your guard down." Wadash, the woman was knocked unconscious by a chop to the back of her head from a clone which had snuck from behind when she was distracted by the other clones blowing themselves up. The clone grabbed the woman and leapt off the crumbling golem to land safely on the ground and waited for Naruto and Louise to run up to them before dispelling. "Time to find out who this is." Naruto pulled off the hood to unveil the face only for Louise to gasp in shock. That's Miss Longueville, one of our teachers. Was she trying to steal something?" Louise wondered. "Seems like it since she was doing it while everyone else was at the exhibition. A perfect time to break in, get what she wants then escape," said Naruto with a frown, referencing to how he often executes his pranks back in the Hidden Leaf Village. "Send one of those clones of yours to call the teachers here." "Already did so, they'll be here so although the fight with Golem would have gotten their attention anyways." Sometime later, Longueville was detained much to the disbelief of the members of the academy that one of their own would do such a thing, even more so when it was discovered that she was none other than Fouquet the sculptor, who is a well-known thief amongst the nobles. Everyone was also surprised and in disbelief that she was caught by Louise and Naruto as well as them being the winners of the exhibition in addition to it. No doubt this was making many to think twice about insulting Louise with Naruto around. Speaking of the blonde ninja, he was currently being glomped by Kirchi, who was pressing her BRST against his chest, making him feel rather awkward. "A winner of the exhibit and capturer of Fouquet, you seem to know how to make a girl swoon for you," said Kirchi. Please let go," Naruto pleaded, his face beet red from the close contact with an admittedly buxom girl. "Aw, don't be so shy. You look so cute." Having enough, Louise yanked Naruto away and glared at Kirchi. "That's enough, stop smothering my familiar with those oversized memories of yours." "You're so innocent," said Kyubi in amusement. "Shut up furball, I'm just not used to this," thought Naruto. Do tell. I'm so glad that you two are safe. Naruto and Louise turned to see Henrietta and her knights approach them. Your Highness. Louise went down on one knee. Naruto reluctantly followed suit since he didn't want to cause problems at the moment. Henrietta knelt as well. No need to bow, I am grateful for your successful capture of Fuka. You as well, Naruto. Naruto smiled in response, it's nothing really, I wasn't going to let her get away with whatever she was up to. It makes me no less grateful, I must report this incident to the palace. But rest assured that we will meet in the near future, said Henrietta, smiling at the both of them. She got up and was escorted back to her carriage to be transported back to the palace. I hope everything will turn out okay, said Louise, looking concerned. What makes you say that when we pretty much saved the day? Asked Naruto confusedly. It's just that I've been hearing bad rumors in the palace linking to her, I hope that this add to her problems. We'll be sure to help her out then. Don't be stupid, she's a princess and we're dash. Her friends, I doubt friends would let anything stop them from helping each other out, Naruto interjected. Louise stared at him in silence and realized that he had a point since she wouldn't be able to forgive herself if she didn't do anything to help Henrietta when she needs it. Your fight with that golem can be graded as passable, but don't get full in the head as you were underestimated the entire time. Continue with your current training, then we'll see about starting on your elemental training in the future, said the Kyuubi. Sweet, I can't wait to breath fire and all those awesome stuffs, thought Naruto excitedly. The fox scoffed in amusement to the boys' enthusiasm. Unknown to them, someone was perched atop the tower and looking down upon them, but mostly at Naruto. It appears to be a girl with long blonde hair and dressed in a blue outfit with a pink skirt and a blue pointy hat with a visor bill. So he's the one we sensed entering this world, quite a cutie too with those whisker marks of his. I really want to know more about him up close, but I don't want MSTR to get mad at me, said the girl with a pout before giggling when she saw Louise drag Naruto away from Kirchi to their room, but frowned when she noted Fuka was glaring at the duo as the guards took her away. I'd better report back to MSTR, maybe he'll let me talk to him this time. She summoned a wand into her hand and waved once to teleport away via a magic circle. It's been about a week since the incident at the school exhibition. News of it had already traveled to certain parts of the kingdom about the capture of Fuka the sculptor. Louise couldn't help but feel awkward due to being the center of attention from people of all ages, receiving positive opinions instead of the usual insults, but then again Naruto's performance at the exhibition was a not-so-subtle warning about not looking down on her. Speaking of whom, Naruto was training hard and working on learning new techniques as well as increasing the proficiency of the ones he already knows. His battle against Fuka along with the conversations he's had with Derflinger made Naruto realize that he needs to be better prepared for any kind of enemy in this world. Sometime later, something unexpected happened to Naruto and Louise. They were summoned to the palace by Princess Henrietta herself. Surprised and curious, the MSTR and familiar went to meet with her. Congratulations, Louise Françoise de la Valliere, said Henrietta. Louise bowed her head. I am unworthy of such an honorary title as Chevalier. She had received the title due to her participation in the capture of Fuka, although it was more of Naruto's doing. Henrietta shook her head with a fond smile. You all achieved something that deserves that title, capturing a thief and preventing her from getting away with ancient weaponry. She turned to smile at Naruto. I thank you as well, trustworthy familiar. Naruto rubbed the back of his head with a sheepish grin. Geez, I just did what was right and stopped her from stealing anything. I trust that you will continue to take care of my dear friend. Henrietta held her hand out towards Naruto, much to the blonde's mild confusion and Louise's shock as the latter placed herself in between them. You should not, princess. Not to a familiar like him, Louise protested. To protect you is equal to swearing loyalty to me. There must be something to return for such an oath of loyalty, Henrietta pointed out, making the pinkette move out of the way albeit reluctantly. Naruto was still confused at what's going on and wondered why Henrietta was holding her hand out to him. What's going on? I'm a little lost here. Louise leaned in to whisper into his ear, she's giving you permission to kiss her. What? Kiss her, the princess? There's no way I can do that. Naruto blushed beet red at the thought of kissing a princess after everything he went through back in Konoha. Derflinger popped up from the sheath on Naruto's back to speak to him. Not that way, partner, you're supposed to kiss her hand, not what you're thinking. Oh, that's what you mean, Naruto sighed in relief. Goes to show how innocent you are, said the Kyuubi in amusement. Shut up. Excuse me, Naruto approached Henrietta, placing his hand underneath hers and softly pressing his lips on her hands. Hiya. Henrietta suddenly squeaked and pulled her hand away from Naruto, much to the confusion of the two of them. Why did the princess react that way when Naruto simply kissed her hand? You stupid familiar, what did you do? Louise demanded angrily. I didn't do anything besides kiss her hand, I swear. Naruto protested in defense. Should have known better than to let a tactless familiar like to approach the princess. Now it was the blonde's turn to get angry. What did you call me? You heard me. They were about to argue more when Henrietta interrupted them. Now, the two of you please calm down. Louise tried to refute, but your highness, this dog. He's not at fault, there's no need to be upset with him, said Henrietta, but then she thought to herself, why did I react that way? The moment he kissed my hand, it felt like a shock went through my whole body. How strange. Naruto grumbled a bit before clearing his throat. Anyways, what was it you wanted to talk to us about? Oh yes, I wanted you two to do something for me. Anything for you, your highness. Even if it's to punish this dog. Louise glared at Naruto, who responded in kind. Will you drop it already? She herself pointed out that it wasn't my fault, Naruto complained. I would like for you to live in the village for a while, said Henrietta. Louise blinked in mild confusion. In the village, why so? The princess proceeded to explain. Lately, I often hear rumors of nobles oppressing the peasants. Whenever I asked those in the area, all of them said that such a thing would never happen, as the nobles were good role models for the peasants. However, seeing the case between you and Count Mott, I can no longer discount them as mere rumors. I see where you're going with this. You want us to go undercover in the village to find out if the nobles are bullying the villagers or not, said Naruto. Henrietta nodded in affirmation. Indeed, it will be a difficult job, but I'm sure that you two can do it. Well understood, princess. Louise piped up eagerly. I'll make sure to get the job done, like my life is on the line. Naruto nodded in agreement. Same here, this will be my first official mission as a ninja and I aim to succeed in it. Henrietta smiled at their positive response. I'm happy to hear that. She went to the table to pick up a scroll and a small sack of money. This warrant and money should be of great help to you while in the village. Louise took the warrant and money with a nod of understanding. You can count on us. Let's get a move on, dog. She left the room. Quit calling me a dog. Naruto retorted. Indeed, you are more of a fox, said the Kyuubi with mirth. I don't need your input in this. The next day, Naruto and Louise had arrived at the village where the core objective of their mission is. Louise went to a clothing store to change from her academy uniform to lesser formal clothing, while Naruto got new clothes of his own, champion's tunic and Hylian trousers from Lozi, Breath of the Wild, since his orange jumpsuit would stand out way too much. Ugh, this is so dull, Louise grumbled, looking down at her clothes. It makes sense for us to look like peasants if we want to gain info on these nobles without attracting attention. So, got any ideas? Asked Naruto, adjusting his new clothes and not feeling any sort discomfort from them. A lot of them actually. Just follow my lead, said Louise confidently. Okay, the blonde ninja felt unsure about this. Sure enough, he was proven right. First, Louise tried to purchase a horse, which costed half of the money the princess gave to them, rent a room in a fancy hotel, which again would consume a major amount of their money. Even Naruto could tell that this isn't the right way to go undercover. Take it from the very same guy who could evade ANBU level ninjas and plant pranks without anyone noticing until they were sprung. Seriously, Louise-chan, we need to rent room at a cheap inn if we want to avoid using money any more than necessary, and we don't need a horse to get around, Naruto pointed out to the pinkette. No way, I refuse to sleep in a cheap room, Louise retorted. Can't expect someone of a noble lifestyle to be able to adapt the lifestyle of a peasant, said Derflinger. Louise frowned at the sword's offhand comment. Fine, I'll make do by myself somehow. What do you mean by that? Asked Naruto confusedly by her statement. Don't follow me. Last thing I want is commentary from a hunk of metal. Louise stomped away, leaving Naruto standing there and not knowing what to do next. Geez, that girl didn't have to be so rude, Derflinger huffed, feeling offended for being called a hunk of metal. Well, you did sort of challenge her with that statement of yours, Naruto pointed out to the sentient blade. She could have ignored me then. So, what happens now? Might as well give her time alone to cool off, it's what I often do when I get mad at something. You would know, said the Kyuubi. Let's not go there, Naruto quickly cut the bijou off. Some time later as the sun began to set, Naruto was running about in search of Louise. As much as he wants to send out his shadow clones and leap across the rooftops, he's well aware that doing any of those things would blow their cover, so he stuck to moving around on foot. He arrived at the city square and found Louise sitting at the edge of the fountain, then went over to her. There you are, I was wondering where you went, Naruto called out. Louise didn't respond. Anyways, what were you up to? You said you had something in mind. Well, you see. The thing is that, Louise muttered lowly. What? You blew all our money at the casino, the blonde ninja couldn't what he was hearing from his MSTR. But they said that I would end up with more for sure, Louise retorted, looking away from him. Naruto facepalmed hard, realizing that she was tricked into spending all the money. They knew that you wouldn't know that luck is the core aspect when gambling. Grown now, we're broke and don't even have a place to stay right now. Louise huffed, at least I'm trying, I didn't see you come up with anything good. Next thing she knew was that Naruto stood in front of her and was glaring. What? First of all, you don't know a thing about undercover work and have been letting that noble mindset of yours steer you wrong. First of all, peasants don't own horses unless it's for farm work, they don't live in fancy inns, and most of all don't go to casinos while aware of the risk of losing all of their money. Had I known that would have happened, I would have stopped you. How would you know? Asked Louise. I've been living on my own ever since I was a little kid, so I would know all too well. I wasn't too sure of how similar the lifestyles are in this world. But it looks like I'll need to grab the reins of this mission before it ends in failure. I don't want to mess this up and disappoint Henrietta, okay? Louise wanted to protest. A familiar leading their MSTR is unheard of, but the serious look on Naruto's face, challenging her in view of her mistakes as well as the faith the princess has for the both of them, was enough to force her to back down. Alright, so what will we do now? Naruto hummed and thought. First of all, we need to find a place to sleep, which means a cheap inn like I suggested before, but now we'll need to offer to work for them in order to get a place. You want us to work? Why do that? Need I remind you that we wouldn't need to do that if you hadn't blown all of our money at the casino? Louise looked away, not wanting to see Naruto's pointed look, especially since she couldn't deny the truth. Très bien. What is this I hear about an offer to work? Such an opportunity can't be overlooked, a voice suddenly spoke up. Everyone turned towards the voice and... What the? Oh my Cammy. Kill it now. Please don't use me to cut it down. A man dressed up in, oh god, even I as an author can't bring myself to describe him. Let's just go with a man with a too feminine personality and vibe. Enough said. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Skara and I own a tavern just up ahead. I couldn't help but overhear of your plight. I am willing to furnish you two with one of our rooms exchange for your services. The man introduced himself. A tavern is similar to a bar, I guess. I read in mangas and novels that bars are a great source of information. Not only will we get a place to stay but also able to listen in on the gossip and find out what's going on around here without being too nosy, thought Naruto. Alright, so long as it's not something invasive, then you've got yourself a deal. Naruto. Louise couldn't believe that Naruto would accept the offer just like that. Très bien. It fills me with joy to hear you say that, and I have just the thing for your friend when we return. Naruto expected a lot of things, but he certainly wasn't expecting girls wearing colorful and undeniably cute frilly made uniforms. Guess he could consider it a positive which cancels out the negative in the form of Skara being well Skara. Now my sweet little fairies, I'd like to introduce our newest fairy to you all. Skara his hands loudly, Louise, please come in. Louise stepped inside, wearing a light pink frilly-made uniform. Then she introduced herself with a forced smile. Hello, I'm Louise, and it's nice to meet you all. Hello Louise, the girls cheerfully greeted in unison. Louise is a poor little girl who ran away from home with her brother when their father tried to sell her to cover up a gambling debt, Skara explained, a cover-up story that Naruto came up with to hide their true identity. Oh my! The poor thing! What a horrible father! That's so awful. Oh boy, I just hope that she doesn't lose her temper here. Naruto peered from the kitchen with a look of concern as he's currently wearing an apron. Apparently, he was given the kitchen duty while Louise works as a maid. Don't hold your breath, Kyubi muttered. Hey new guy, come over here and help me with the dishes, a voice called out to Naruto. He turned to see a fair maiden with long black hair. She wears a green maid dress with a low neckline which exposes her sizable bust with a silver heart-shaped necklace resting atop her melons. She has her hair in a white bandana with a red ribbon below it. Oh sorry, I was just a little worried about my sister. Naruto went over to the girl to assist her in the washing of the dishes. Your sister the girl looked at Naruto with a sly smile. Naruto felt a bit nervous from the look she was giving him. What is it? Oh nothing, my name Jessica. What's yours? Asked Jessica. Naruto, he couldn't use his surname since it might blow their cover. Naruto quite an unusual name. I've been getting that a lot. Well, it's nice to meet you Naruto. If there's anything you'd like to know, you can talk to me. Thanks a lot, I'd appreciate it. Louise was watching Naruto having a conversation and not liking in the least bit, that dumb dog. Skara spoke up, alright my sweet little fairies, I'm happy to announce that the tip race will now begin. Kaya all of the girls began to cheer happily at the news. Tip race, what's that? Asked Louise confusedly. The cute fairy who earns the biggest tip total gets a special bonus. Skara pulls down on a rope to make curtains part to reveal a black maid uniform on a mannequin. You will have the right for one day to wear the family heirloom that is the namesake for our beloved Tavern, the enchanting fairy bustier. The maids looked at the dress in awe. So wonderful, me mademoiselle. This bustier is enchanted with a magic which charms people. So the day you wear this, you earn without any limits. Louise couldn't believe what she's hearing, earning without limits. The girl who won the tip race last year earned so much that she moved back to her hometown. Be sure to do your best, my sweet little fairies, said Skara. We will, me mademoiselle, said the girls excitedly. Très bien. A grin slowly appeared Louise's face as she came up with an idea. If she wins the tip race and gets the bustier, she will not only be able to recover the money lost but also get even more than what they started out with. The words, easier said than done, couldn't any truer for Louise these past few days. The customers would often give offhand comments about her figure, particularly her chest, and at times would try to touch her in certain areas in a drunken stupor which would result in her lashing physically and making sure that it hurts. That would be when Skara had to intervene to calm things down. This is ridiculous. Why do I, a daughter of the Duke, have to deal with this? Louise ranted as she sat on the bed of the room which Skara had set up for her and Naruto, who was setting his own bed on the floor. Louise-chan, please calm down. I know you don't like what you're doing, but remember that we're on a mission for the princess and we don't want to let her down, do we? Naruto pointed out to her. I know that, but right now, we're peasants, not nobles. You need to shelf your noble mindset for now until we get the information we need. I've had my shadow clones use the transformation jutsu to listen in on the gossips in the tavern, but no getting anything solid so far. Fine. Louise noted how Naruto was getting ready to sleep, not showing a sign of discomfort. How can you adapt so easily? Because I'm willing to learn and adapt to these kind of things. Let's not forget that I've been sleeping on the floor ever since I came into this world. Naruto went to sleep soon after. Louise tried to go to bed too but then looked up to the corner of the ceiling to see bats hanging upside down on the rafters, staring right back at her with glowing red eyes. The Pinkette flinched in fear at the sight of them, making her realize that she has to do that again. She timidly got off the bed and approached Naruto. She made sure that he was fast asleep before crawling into the bed to sleep with him. Not that way. Louise soon found herself feeling a sense of peace which she had discovered when she did this for the first time, falling asleep in no time. And to think that this is the same BRT girl with too much pride for her own, my partner sure has it tough for him, said Derflinger in amusement. The next day, things went on as usual at the tavern with Louise reacting all strongly to the offside comments by the customers out of habit to the point that Scarra had taken her to a corner to speak to her. Louise, you just sit here and watch how the other girls do it. I'm sure you want to win the tip race as much as the girls want to, said Scarra. I'm sorry, Louise bowed her head in disappointment as the male owner left. Why do I have to wear this embarrassing outfit and sell favors to these people? And to top it all off, they came saying that I'm so small and flat. She was snapped out of her thoughts when she heard Naruto's voice. Oh really, Scarra-san said that about me? Asked Naruto in shock. Jessica nodded with a smile. Yeah, he likes how you're so hardworking and give your all in helping with the tavern. Even the girls were singing praises about you. Really? Wow, I don't know what to say to that. Louise's eye twitched at the flowery atmosphere between the two, even more so when she sees Jessica's melons bounce every time she laughs until she couldn't take it anymore as she picked up an empty bottle nearby. I'm going to teach that dog a lesson. She flung the bottle across the tavern towards the back of Naruto's head, expecting it to hit. The next thing she knew was that Naruto suddenly spun around whilst grabbing the closest item to him, which is a kitchen knife, and sliced the incoming projectile cleanly in half, much to the shock of everyone around. Alright, who's the wise guy that had the bright idea to throw bottles around here? Naruto demanded sternly, looking around for the culprit with Louise looking away nervously. You're lucky that I wasn't looking, cause if I find you. He twirled the kitchen knife in hand, having it glint and giving everyone the clear idea of what he would do. Looks like the training of having your clones attack you from anywhere in order to improve your senses is proving useful after all, said Kyubi in approval. Yeah, thank goodness for that, Naruto returned to washing the dishes, not knowing that he had indirectly threatened a very nervous Louise who's starting to realize that she needs to be careful when around him. So I was right about you, said Jessica slyly. Naruto started to sweat a bit, realizing that his instinct exposed a part of him that wasn't supposed to be known. What do you mean? What I mean is that Louise isn't your sister, as you don't share any sort of resemblance between each other. That's because I was adopted by our father, Naruto tried to cover up. A father who was going to sell his daughter to cover up his gambling debts to have the kindness to adopt a child. Nice try, this raises the possibility of her being a noble. Are you serious? A girl with a temper like being a noble, there's just no way. She didn't even know how to carry a plate at the very beginning, didn't she? There's also the unusual amount of pride which she holds in herself and her behavior. She has to be a noble, and you are her servant given how you handled that knife skillfully, Jessica pushed further. At this point, Naruto was sweating buckets. Oh Kami, she had been suspicious of us for a while now, and the thing with the bottle was the final clue which she needed to uncover the truth. I guess she wasn't as fooled as her father and the others humans. I'm actually impressed, said Kyubi. Shut it, furball, can't you see that our cover's been blown? Naruto yelled mentally. I fail to see how that is my problem. Why you? Jessica leaned forward. Well, any excuses this time? Naruto stammered, not knowing what to say. Jessica looked at him for a moment before leaning back, but then again, I could be wrong and was letting my fantasy go wild. Naruto blinked in confusion. Huh? I was just playing around with you. It's really cute to see you all confused. Jessica resumed washing the dishes, leaving Naruto standing there and not knowing how to react, but the fox knew better. She decided to let him off, not exposing him and the girl to the others. What an interesting human indeed, said the Kyubi. Soon the last day of the tip race had arrived, but Louise wasn't feeling too confident. She had hardly been getting any tips due to her attitude and was seriously lagging behind the other maids. At this rate, she wouldn't be able to win the tip race. At this rate, not only will I not win first place but also, Louise was sighing in depression when she heard someone open the door into the tavern. It was a very chubby man with a brownish toupee and a long thin mustache, wearing expensive clothing which were straining against his figure and a red cape. If this doesn't scream noble, then the fact that he was accompanied by several guards can be used for emphasis. Everyone suddenly tensed as Skara approached the noble. My, if it isn't Lord Kalen. It's nice of you to come all the way out here. It looks like you have been quite prosperous these days, said Kalen greedily looking around the tavern. Oh no, today was just a coincidence. Usually, we would be so empty that you could hear a cuckoo cry. Enough excuses, I've come here today as a customer. Unfortunately, there aren't any seats available. Skara was hoping that this would convince the noble to leave, but I doubt it will be a problem for much longer. Kalen snapped his fingers, making the guards bring out their wands and aim at the customers, giving them a clear message of what they should do. Within a minute, there was no customer in sight as the greedy noble took a seat with a warped sense of pride of what he has done. I guess you were right when you said the place was empty, Kalen chortled. Why yes indeed. Kalen noticed that no maid had approached him, which annoyed him. Come on, is there no one to come and serve the royal queen's levy collector? Naruto frowned at the noble's actions as he peered through the kitchen windows, then whispered to Jessica, who's this JRK? That would be Kalen, the guy who collects the levy around here. He puts a heavy levy on anyone who opposes him, with us being his favorite target, Jessica explained. Not only that, he fondles as much as he wants and doesn't pay a single tip. No girl that works here wants to serve him. Looks like we found our guy, now to report him to the princess and it's a mission accomplished, thought Naruto. He was snapped out of his thoughts by Jessica. Hey, there's someone approaching him. Louise. What did you say? Naruto looked and sure enough Louise was approaching the noble to serve him. Oh no, this isn't going to end well. He's a rich-looking noble, this is my chance to get a big tip, thought Louise, placing the bottle of wine before him. You're a charming man, sir. Kalen looked at Louise lustfully for a second before groaning in disappointment. Does this place employ men now? Men. Louise couldn't believe what she had just heard from the levy collector. Previous customers had said a lot of things but never mistook her for a male. Kalen guffawed. Upon a closer look, you're just a girl with really small melons. They're so flat that I thought you were a boy. This guy just had to say those trigger words, Naruto groaned, having long since learnt to never give a negative comment on a girl's appearance. His interactions with Sakura and Ino had made it clear to him. In fact, why don't I take a look at those small melons just to make sure? Kalen reached a hand out with clear intent to fondle. Louise smiled before finally snapping, don't mess with me. Wham! She lashed out with a high kick to Kalen's face, knocking him right off his seat, much to the horror of everyone bearing witness. Jessica was quick to notice that Naruto wasn't next to her anymore. Kalen sat up from the ground and glared at Louise. How dare you? You must have a death wish to kick my face. The guards were already by his side with their wands aiming at her. Skara tried to intervene. Please forgive milord, she just started working here and doesn't know better. Silence. Her actions are inexcusable and she shall pay dearly for her insolence. Kalen was about to give the order when Naruto suddenly appeared between them. Naruto. Louise was surprised to see her familiar being there to protect her. Alright old man, I'd suggest that you back down before things start getting violent, said Naruto, although he appeared to want to do the opposite of his words. Do you have any idea who you're talking to? I am the royal queen's levy collector, Lord Kalen, the rotund noble declared. Yeah, I heard and I could care less. Last warning, back down. Naruto warned once more. Kalen gritted his teeth in anger, then gave an order to his guards, seize these peasants, I'll have them hung by their necks at the square to serve as an example to everyone who would dare oppose me. Naruto sighed and looked at everyone. Let it be known that I gave them fair warning. Suddenly, Naruto moved at blurring speeds towards the guards, bringing out the kitchen knife which he had picked up earlier. He proceeded to slice the guards' wands in half to render them unable to use magic, then switching to landing powerful punches to their stomachs, making them fall to the ground on their knees in pain. Scarra and the others were in awe of the blonde's skill. Louise may have seen this many times, but it never stops taking her by surprise. Kalen looked at Naruto in pain and fear. Who are you? Louise stepped forward and pointed her wand at the noble in annoyance. My servant has no need to explain himself to you, given how you acted so rude to me. A wand? Could it be that you're a noble? Like I would give my name to a lowly official like you. You should have listened to him earlier. Now I want you to leave this place and never come here again. Are you a fallen noble that works here? Who do you think you are to? Anything that Kalen was going to say was interrupted when Louise brought out the warrant that Henrietta gave to her and unraveled it for everyone to see the royal seal on it, making the noble pale in fear. Who are you calling a fallen noble? Asked Louise. That's a writ from the palace. The princess had been hearing rumors of nobles oppressing the people and sent us here to find out if it was true. I think you can figure the rest on your own. Naruto grinned, seeing the noble and his guards become fearful of their reveal and drop to their knees once more. Please forget what happened. In exchange, I'll give you this. Kalen held up a bag of money with the guards following suit. Please, I beg of you. Louise huffed, just get out of here and forget what you saw and heard here. Oh, of course we will, said Kalen before he and the guards ran out of the tavern as fast as their legs can carry them, with everyone cheering and laughing at the spectacle. We're so gonna tell the princess so she can punish that fatso, thought Naruto with a mischievous grin. Then he noticed the maids gathering around Louise and praising her. You're so amazing, Louise. We never would have thought that you were a noble. To be able to scare that creep, you're the best. We're sorry about lying to you guys, it's just that we were undercover to try to confirm the rumors we were informed of, said Naruto apologetically, feeling a bit guilty since they were so nice to him and Louise. Scarra simply smiled in response. We don't ask any of our employees about their background. So, we didn't see anything and we didn't hear anything. Right, everyone? Everyone nodded in affirmation. Yes, of course. Thanks everyone. Jessica then spoke up. By the way, Louise, looks like you've won the tip race. She gestured to the large heap of the sacks of money on the table. But he just put it there, Louise pointed out confusedly. He and the others put it there on their own free will, which counts as a tip to you. Right, Dad? Jessica explained. Scarra nodded in confirmation. So our winner for the tip race is none than Louise. Every applauded her, making the Pinkette feel shy since she hardly gets praised, with Naruto smiling at this. But we mustn't forget to thank Naruto too for being of great help and protecting us all. Thank you, Naruto, said the girls happily. Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Geez, it was nothing major. For someone so strong, you certainly are modest, said Jessica slyly, making the blonde blush shyly. Later that night, Naruto was resting on the bed and deep in his thoughts whilst Louise was changing her clothes. Now that we've confirmed the rumors, I guess we'll return to report to the princess. Guess I'm little sad since we've made friends here, said Naruto thoughtfully. He was snapped out of his thoughts when he heard Louise call out to him. Naruto? Yes, Louise-chan, what is I? He trailed the very moment Louise stepped out from behind the door of the closet and revealing what she was wearing. That's the enchanting fairy bustier. Since I was given the opportunity, I decided to borrow it. I mean, it would have been a shame if I didn't, not after all that trouble I went through to win the tip race. Oh, I see. Naruto couldn't stop himself from staring at Louise. The bustier seems to bring out some form of hidden beauty from within her. Does it really have the magic to charm people? Well. I went through the trouble of putting it on, so say something, said Louise, feeling rather self-conscious of herself. What can I say? Other than you look appealing and I really mean it, said Naruto with absolute honesty. Louise blushed at the blonde's genuine compliment and responded timidly, oh, thank you. Wow, she's acting so cute right now, thought Naruto. Elsewhere in a dungeon, a cloaked figure silently walked through the darkened hallways past every cell before stopping at one to peer inside and see the prisoner within. So late at night, who are you and what do you want? The prisoner raised their head, revealing to be Fuke, who was defeated by Naruto and Louise, then arrested by the royal guards. The dark figure merely opened the door to her cell. I've come to pick up our comrade, Fuke the sculptor, no Matilda of South Gotha. The woman's eyes widened in shock at how this unknown stranger knew of her true name before coming to a realization of who the strange actually is. It's been a week since Naruto and Louise had gone on that covert mission assigned to them by Princess Henrietta, who was very grateful for their success. From what he heard, the noble Kalen suffered severe repercussions and was strppd of his position as the royal levy collector. It didn't stop at just that, as his credibility has hit rock bottom and likely to go deeper than that. Even the nobles severed their ties with him. Things pretty much went back to normal, well, as normal as it can get in a school which revolves around magic and the eccentricity of noble children. Naruto himself was currently at his training spot since Louise is off to do her own thing, which didn't require his presence. As of now, he was reading one of the Uzumaki scrolls to find something new to learn after the Kyuubi gave him the go-ahead, since he's coming along well with the other jutsu and just needs to increase his proficiency in them till it becomes second nature to him. So, what kind of elemental training will I be doing before I can start learning any kind of elemental jutsu? Asked Naruto curiously as he read the scroll. Before you do, you first need to be aware of the element you're affiliated with, said the Kyuubi. What do you mean? In the elemental nations, there are 5 main elements, which are fire, water, wind, earth and lightning. There are also sub-elements formed by combining 2 of the main elements, but we'll go into that at a later time. A ninja who's affiliated to a particular element will be able to use jutsu linked to it with lesser difficulty. It's mostly known that experienced ninjas are able to be affiliated with 2 or 3 main elements, the Bijou explained. Whoa, was there anyone able to control all 5? Asked Naruto curiously. There are a few, but they possess certain traits to make that possible. The Kyuubi recalled particular dojutsu and bloodlines that make such a thing possible. In that case, how will I know which element I'm affiliated with? Under normal circumstances, you'll need to use chakra paper to find out. But that won't be necessary since you have me sealed inside of you. I can easily examine your chakra and find out, which I already did long ago. So, what are they? Asked Naruto, nervously waiting for the reveal. Apparently you have a strong link to wind, a medium one with fire and a mild one with water. I suspect that having me sealed inside you was the reason why you got an affiliation with fire. Naruto's eyes sparkled with excitement. 3 elements, I always knew that I'm awesome and this just proves it. I wouldn't be so excited if I were you. You'll need to train hard with your elemental training, and that's even before training on the jutsus themselves. But it will be worth it in the end. No pain no gain, like the saying goes. Naruto declared with gusto. He may not be a fan of history, but he admires the heroes, especially the Hokages, and wants to be strong just like them, or maybe even better. Sigh. Very well then, we'll start with training your wind affiliation first, the other 2 will come later. Thanks, Kyuubi. Whatever. Naruto went back to reading his scroll when he came across something which caught his interest. The more he read, the more his eyes widened at the implications. Derflinger emerged from his sheath and noticed how the blonde ninja was so silent and focused on the scroll in his hand. Hey partner, what's got your attention so much? Derflinger inquired. Take a look at this, Derf. Naruto showed the sentient sword what was on the scroll, which caught his interest as well. Oh ho, this clan from your world is certainly innovative. The gear that I'm seeing here can make you an even bigger threat than what you're already going to be. You're telling me. But there are certain factors that you need to deal with if you wish to create it. What do you mean? Naruto inquired curiously. First, you'll need money, and a lot of it. Second, you need to acquire suitable materials for the gear to be manufactured. And thirdly, you need a skilled craftsperson or blacksmith who's able and willing to create it for you, Derflinger pointed out to his partner. Hearing this, Naruto sat down and crossed his arms while frowning deeply in thought. Derflinger brought up very good points. He thought long and hard before snapping his fingers as he came up with an idea. I got it, I'll go to the town and earn money by doing jobs, said Naruto brightly. Are you sure? Why not ask your MSTR instead? Derflinger inquired. Considering that she's a student in school, which means her tuition is being paid by her parents, I doubt she has that much money to spare for me. Plus I don't want to rely on her for every single thing either, and have some money for myself too, Naruto explained. Okay, that's the first one figured out. What about the other two? To find the blacksmith, I'll head over to Scaraw's place and ask him. I'm pretty sure that he'll know the best one to recommend me to. As for the materials, I'll inquire from the blacksmith after he sees what I want made. Sounds like you're all set, so when do we leave? It's still morning, so I can head to town today, but I'll leave a clone behind just in case Louise needs me for something. Naruto packed up the scroll and sealed it away, then he created a shadow clone and prepared to set out when Derflinger spoke up. But are you going to tell her about your plans? Asked the sentient sword. Maybe some other time, since I need to make sure that it will turn out okay first. With that said, Naruto set out from the academy and made his way to the town, then went to the tavern. It's needless to say, but everyone were happy to see him again after what he and Louise did for them, especially the girls. Hello Naruto, it's good to see you, said Scara happily. Naruto smiled nervously in response. He has yet to get used to Scara's eccentric nature. Same here, I came to inquire a few things from you. What is it? Well, for starters, I'm looking for a place to work which has a decent wage and also a good blacksmith who's good in crafting weapons and gears, Naruto explained. Scara tapped a finger on his lips in thought. Well, there's always the town request board. What's that? The blonde ninja inquired. Jessica spoke up to explain. A town request board is a client system where people who have tasks that they can't handle set up requests for those capable of doing so and will be paid in return. The amount of money paid depends on the type of task it is as well as its difficulty. I see, so where can I find the request board? Oh, you needn't look far. With that fat noble now gone, we've got a request board set up here. Jessica pointed over to a wall for Naruto to see the aforementioned board, which already has many requests put up. Scara then spoke up, and for the blacksmith you're looking for, I know just the one. Let me give you the directions to the smithy, then tell them your name and that I sent you. Thanks Scara. It's the least I can do for my friends who helped us out and protected my sweet little fairies. Just get those directions and leave already. Kyubi complained, not wanting to be around Scara any longer than he could endure. Sometime later, Naruto stood in front of a rather small shack which didn't really give him the impression that it's a smithy, with the few exceptions being the signboard and the chimney that is billowing smoke. Bracing himself, Naruto went inside with the bell ringing when he opened the door and went to the counter. Hello, is anybody here? Naruto called out. Just a minute, I'll be right there, a feminine voice called out from the back room before the person soon made her appearance. She's an adult woman with long light blue hair which reaches down to her waist. Her figure is slim and delicate with a medium-sized bust. She wears a white blouse with a bodice to support her chest, as it comes with belts and pockets to hold her tools. Her dress comes down in separate pleats with dark leggings underneath. She wears a pair of goggles on her forehead, a pair of gloves, and she has a white hood attached to her shrug. The woman smiled brightly. Hello there, my name is and welcome to my smithy. How may I help you? Hello, my name's Naruto Uzumaki and I came here in search of a blacksmith and Scara recommended you to me, Naruto replied. Naruto, are you the same one whom along with that noble girl dealt with that Kalen JRK? Is asked upon recognizing the name since Scara told her about them. The very one. Thanks for that, you have no idea how much money that fatso has been sucking from us, said Is gratefully. Naruto waved his hand. No need for thanks, that JRK had it coming to him. No arguments with that, so what can I do for you? You see, the thing is the dash. Naruto was interrupted by the sound of the back door opening and someone entered. Turns out that the person is a girl about Naruto's age with fluffy pink hair with a white hairpin and small freckles on her cheeks. Her clothes look more of a waitress, composing of a dark red top with puffed sleeves, a flared skirt of the same color combined with a pure white apron on top of it, as well as a red ribbon on top of her chest. MSTR is, I've made sure to cool off the metal, and the pinkette trailed off upon seeing that there's a customer in the room. Sorry, I hope I'm not interrupting anything. Is shook her head with a smile, not at all, in fact this is the guy whom Skara was talking about. You know the one with the noble girl that dealt with Kalen. Really? The girl looked at Naruto and couldn't help but be skeptical, is this really the guy? I was expecting him to be taller and strong looking. Allow me to introduce Lisbeth, my apprentice in training. Her crafting and blacksmithing skills improve day by day, said Is with pride. Hi there, nice to meet you, said Naruto cheerfully. Sure nice to meet you too, said Lisbeth half-heartedly, continuing to examine him. Skara told us that you were able to beat the noble's guards by yourself, is that true? Naruto nodded in affirmation, that I did, that JRK was flaunting his authority around and would have hurt my friends so I stopped them. With your bare hands or that rusty sword on? You're back? Asked Lisbeth skeptically. Who are you calling rusty, little girl, said Derflinger angrily, shocking both Is and Lisbeth at the reveal. Is was shocked, the sentient sword. Way to keep a cool head, Derf, Naruto commented. Save it, partner. I ain't gonna let a little girl disrespect me. Who are you calling a little girl? Lisbeth demanded angrily. And who are you calling a rusty sword? I just call it how I see it. Oh yeah? Well same here. Lisbeth, that's enough, Is interjected sternly. Derf, cool it, Naruto did the same. Humph/humph, both the pinkette and sword huffed and ceased their squabble for now. So, what is it that you came here for? Asked Is curiously. I was hoping to ask if you can create custom weapons or gears. Skara told me that you're pretty good at it, said Naruto, now diving into the reason for his visit. Lisbeth scoffed, MSTR isn't just pretty good, she's amazing. Now, no need to praise me that much, Is felt a bit embarrassed from the praise. Then I'd like for you to take a look at these. Naruto took out the scroll and unrolled it to reveal the blueprints. Both Is and Lisbeth looked and their eyes grew wider as the time went. This is I may not know the language but the designs are amazing. Where did you get this? Is inquired. They belong to a clan and now I'm in ownership of it. Will it be possible for you to create them? Asked Naruto. Just by the illustrations alone, it will prove difficult since we don't understand the language it's written in, said Is with a small frown. In that case, I'll make a copy with the information translated for you to understand. Lisbeth spoke, even so, do you have the money for it? As of now, I don't. But I intend to use to the town request board to gather money for this project. But I thought you worked for that noble girl. Not in the way you think, I don't exactly get paid and I want to earn my own money. Is continued to look at the blueprints with clear interest. If you're going to be using the request board then we could use your help. We normally require assistance when mining ores and collecting materials. It could benefit the both of us. Naruto nodded in affirmation, sure not, you can even let me know when you need my help by passing a message to Skara since I'll be visiting his tavern frequently. He took the scroll albeit having to tug on it since Is didn't want to let go of it. I'll be seeing you guys later. Just don't bring that rusty sword with you, Lisbeth grumbled. Why don't you come a little closer and I'll show you if I'm rusty, said Derflinger angrily as Naruto leave the smithy. Afterwards, Naruto went to various shops to make certain inquiries before going examine one of the request boards to see the kinds of request available for him to take on for some time before heading back to the academy. Let's see here, here's one with the client needing LBR work to move a new shipment of wine into his cellar, a farmer needing assistance in harvesting apples from his orchard, lumbering in the nearby forest. They all have decent wages, said Naruto thoughtfully. You can send a shadow clone to each of those requests, you can earn money more quickly that way. Derflinger suggested. But there's the risk of my clone being dispelled if hit by something. Then simply reinforce those clones with more chakra than normal, that will make it harder for them to be dispelled, said the Kyuubi. Oh okay, then my clones will return to the academy with the money after the tasks, said Naruto. He took the requests off the board and went to hid in an alley, then he created a clone for each task and sent them off whole, making sure that they won't be seen together since he doesn't want to reveal his jutsu unnecessarily in the open. The blonde ninja poked his head out of the alley to make sure that the coast is clear, then exited from it and started to leave for the academy. He was going round a corner when he suddenly bumped into someone, resulting in them both falling back onto the ground. Naruto looked to see a girl with a slender figure, and her brown hair is sporadically arranged and juts downwards in all directions. She wears a beige shoulderless, sleeveless top with ruffled straps around her upper arm, a beige miniskirt, charmed bracelets around her wrists and ankles, and matching necklace, belt and headwear. Scattered around her were cards with artistic designs on them and depicting creatures he has never seen before, but he quickly snapped back to focus and rose to his feet. "I'm sorry, I should have been more careful." Naruto stretched a hand out to the girl. "Here, let me help you up." The girl smiled brightly as she took his hand and felt herself being pulled to her feet with ease. "It's all right, I had my head in the clouds and didn't focus on the ground." "Okay, hang on and let me get those cards for you." Naruto knelt down and began picking up the cards, unaware that the girl was looking him rather keenly until he was done and handed them back to her. "Here you go, I gotta admit that they look pretty cool. The name's Naruto Uzumaki, by the way. And I'm Mana, thanks for the compliment. They're pretty special in a way that only a few can uncover their secret," said the girl. "So, they're like magic cards or something like that," said Naruto with his arms crossed in thought. "Giggle, I'll let you keep guessing until the next time. Your thinking expression is cute to look at." Naruto blushed at the girl's teasing. "Cute, me? See you around, Naruto." "Perhaps bumping into each other is a sign of good things to come between us," said Mana as she left while waving at him. "She's kinda weird, but the good kind," Naruto commented with a quirked eyebrow. "Well, everyone has their own quirks which makes them unique, partner. And you're no exception," Derflinger stated. "That's true, now let's head back before Louise notices that the real me has been gone." "I doubt your clone will blow your cover," Kyubi commented. Naruto made his way back to the academy as the sun began to set and made it in time for dinner. He quickly swapped places with his clone and dispelled it, receiving the memories to note that not much really went on while he was gone, and Louise had been focused on her studies, so she didn't need him during that time. They were having their dinner with Naruto actually sitting at the table, not like Louise could tell him to sit on the floor since she knows full well that he would refute strongly. Speaking of which, she decided to strike up a conversation. "So, what have you been doing all day?" asked Louise. "Making preparations for my elemental training amongst other things," Naruto replied. "Elemental training?" "Yup, I learnt that I have an affiliation to wind, fire and water, so I'll need to learn how to HRNSS the elements to a proficient level before I can start practicing elemental jutsu." "Is that so?" A certain part of Louise couldn't help but feel a bit envious that her familiar will be capable of wielding 3 elements when she can't even MSTR 1. At the same time though, she can be proud that her familiar will eventually surpass all the other familiars of her class by miles before they even graduate. Her thoughts were disrupted by a well-known yet annoying voice in her opinion. "What's this I hear about you wielding 3 elements?" asked Kirchi, who had seen them and approached to talk to Naruto and tease Louise when she overheard their conversation. "Stay out of this, Zerbst. This conversation is between me and my familiar," said Louise. In annoyance. "Maybe so, but hearing that my cutie shares a connection with the passionate flames like me, I can't turn a blind eye to that." Kirchi looked at Naruto in a sultry manner. "Maybe I can give you some tips along with my familiar flame." "Well, I could use some advice while I'm training," said Naruto thoughtfully. Louise snarled, "There's no need for you to, as in, I'll be the one to train him." "Oh really, Ms. Zero? How exactly are you going to train him?" Kirchi sneered in response. Naruto sighed, feeling a sense of déjà vu seeing them argue and recalling how he and Sasuke would also do the same. Iruka-sensei must possess the patience of a saint to put up with him. Naruto coughed loudly so he could gain their attention, which he was able to do, then spoke to Kirchi. "Kirchi-chan, I'm thankful that you want to help me with my training, but you don't really have to call Louise with that nickname." Naruto turned to Louise, "And you can come and watch during my training sessions too when you have time, not like I'm stopping you from doing so unless I want it to be private." Both girls looked at Naruto with their own thoughts. "Well, he does have a point that I could watch him, just that I wasn't that curious back then. But now, I want to see how the people from his world train in the elements. Plus, I need to keep an eye on Kirchi to stop her from doing anything to my familiar, thought Louise. Coming to a compromise to avoid upsetting either of us, my cutie must be quite the negotiator. He must have encountered these kinds of situations to be able to do this. Very well then, I'll comply even if I have to deal with her presence, thought Kirchi, mistaking Naruto employing Irika's tactics for him being a good negotiator. Later that night, Naruto went down to the fountain to clean himself up, but that wasn't the only reason, as several clones made their appearance before him and had presented brown sacks of money. Apparently they're the shadow clones that he had sent to take on the tasks from the request board. Here you go, boss. The money we've earned today, said one of clones. Naruto received the sacks and checked the contents. Thanks you guys, I appreciate it. Another one of the clones snorted, humph, you'd better. They all dispelled and Naruto saw the memories of what they did today. It seems like the people were skeptical at first, but that quickly changed when they saw firsthand how effective they were in spite of their size and age, even asking them to come again to help with the jobs. Naruto smiled to himself. No one complimented him whenever he did anything back in the Hidden Leaf Village, but it is different here. The people actually appreciate his efforts, which makes him want to do better than before. Don't get too drunk on praise, BRT. That will lead to arrogance, which you saw a lot in that DMN Uchiha, said Kyubi, not wanting Naruto to become insufferable like Sasuke. When you say it like that, there's no way I'm gonna let myself be like that duckaz, said Naruto, shivering at the thought of being a blonde version of his hated rival. Good, need to make sure of that. Naruto began taking off his upperwear when something caught his eye and looked down only to be surprised to see 5 cards lying on the grass. What's more is that they look just like the ones that Mana has in her possession. Now the question is, how on did he have them? Naruto picked up the cards and examined each of them carefully. The first card has the image of a monster appearing as a large quadrupedal lion, which looks like it could also stand on 2 feet as well, with light brown fur, a large dark brown mane, and a white slightly curved horn protruding from its forehead. The second oddly shows a large golden armored arm which is being shackled at the wrist with a long chain. The third card depicts a quadrupedal baby dragon with ruby red eyes, black scales and wings. The fourth card has a monster appearing rather humanoid adolescent being wearing a full-body silver suit with a long blue curved back horn on the forehead of his helmet as he strikes a heroic pose. The fifth and last card depicts a girl with long blonde hair and dressed in a blue outfit with a pink skirt and a blue pointy hat with a visor bill. For a moment, Naruto could have sworn that he saw the girl wink at him, or maybe the drowsiness is making him see things. But how did these cards get into my clothes? Asked Naruto confusedly. He didn't see or feel the cards in his clothes until now. Did you notice anything, Kyubi? None that I sensed, since I'm still coming to terms with the energies of this world, Kyubi replied. Maybe tomorrow, I'll try to look for Mana and return these cards back to her. No doubt they must be important, said Naruto, carefully putting the cards away in his pouch to prevent any damage on them as he went to wash himself, unaware that the cards glowed faintly for a moment before returning to normal. The next day, Naruto went to the library in hopes of obtaining some blank scrolls along with ink and brushes so he could make copies of the blueprints and translate the text into a language that his and Lisbeth could understand. He was looking through the bookshelves when his shoulder bumped against someone else's. He looked to see that it was someone familiar. Oh, it's you! Naruto exclaimed in shock, but quickly lowered his voice since he's in a library for obvious reasons. The person was none other than Katie, whom Goichi had been two-timing with behind Montmorency's back. Apparently she recognizes him as he also reminds her of what happened that day, which pretty much sours her mood. What are you doing here? Asked Katie, not feeling happy right now. Actually, I'm looking for blank scrolls and ink to make a copy of something for a future project of mine. Think you can help me? I don't really know my way around here, Naruto explained. Frankly, Katie saw no reason to help the blonde ninja who reminds her of what happened that day. But then she heard of how Goichi was soundly beaten by him and had witnessed the show he put on during the exhibition, not to mention how he and Louise had captured a famous thief who was one of their teachers. It goes to say that he has piqued her curiosity. Very well then, I'll take you to where the scrolls are, and the librarian should have extra ink bottles to spare, said Katie. Naruto beamed, thanks a lot. Katie then guided him through the library to acquire the needed items before he found a quiet corner so he could start copying and translating the blueprint while the young noble sat a short distance away from him while reading a book. Things were quite silent between for a while. Sometimes Katie would look up from her book to see Naruto keenly focused on whatever he was doing, which is a far cry from the energetic nature he has earlier before. Unable to withhold her curiosity, Katie decided to strike up a conversation. Mr. Naruto? The blonde ninja paused for a moment to raise his head and look at her. What is it? About those magic spells of yours, how are you able to perform them without the use of a magic wand? Asked Katie. Her fellow classmates often wondered the same and gossiped about seeing him do fantastical things without chanting or using a wand, like walking on walls vertically with nothing but his feet, and even walked on the water's surface at the fountain. Naruto sighed in response. Like I kept telling people, my jutsus aren't spells and I don't use magic but chakra, which are from my world. But everyone seems to think that I'm a child from an unknown noble family that seemed to have come up with a unique way to utilize magic just because I don't go waving a stick around and mumbling gibberish, which is the norm around here. Well, it does make more sense, as it's hard to believe that Miss Valier somehow summoned a human being from another world, said Katie. But it happened, and at a bad time too. Someone I care about was hurt and I don't know if he's doing okay right now, said Naruto, a worried expression on his face as he thought about Irika, who has been the big brother he never had and now they're far apart. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. It's alright. There anything else you want to ask? What kind of world is your place? Well, Naruto isn't exactly the most knowledgeable of his village, but he could at least give her the basic information, such as the clans being his world's versions of nobles, the Hokages are similar to kings, and how the Ninja Academy is like the Magic Academy. He also spoke of the famous landmarks like the Hokage Mountain, Ichiraku's, the Forest of Death, which he discovered once during his exploration in his younger days but was driven away by a scary lady who threatened to drink his blood, etc. Katie was amazed to learn of Naruto's world. Wow, there are similarities between your world and mine, yet a single variation separates them. Your hand signs is a variation of us using our wands and chants, while your jutsu is a different version of magic spells. It's no wonder why everyone mistook you for an unknown noble who was strangely summoned to be Miss Valier's familiar. I kind of figured that was the case a while ago, but that doesn't make me any less happy about it, Naruto grumbled whilst continuing to copy and translate. Maybe it's because you haven't told them what you told me. Believe me, I told Louise and she didn't believe me for a while until much later after catching that hooded lady. So I figured to let my actions differentiate me from others. I'm even surprised that you believe me. It must be because of the way you spoke of your home. You didn't exaggerate anything and looked me straight in the eyes, unlike that two-timing liar Goichi. Katie frowned at the thought of that person. Well, at least I kicked his ass and now he acts like he's ready to run for the hills every time he sees me, said Naruto while Katie giggled at the thought of it. I would like to see that happen. We'll see. Eventually, Naruto was finally done making the translated copies and it was time for him to go. Much to Katie's disappointment, there was something about the ninja which draws her to him even though he's not a noble, or would it be because of that? Guess it's time for me to go. It's been nice talking to you, Katie-chan, said Naruto after sealing the scrolls away, which surprised Katie to see yet another one of his unique skills. The feeling is mutual, Mr. Naruto. Please, just call me Naruto. It feels weird being called Mr. Okay then, Naruto. I hope we can have another conversation like this one. Sure thing, maybe I can tell you about the kinds of food in my world, especially the food of the gods, that is ramen, said Naruto energetically. Giggle, I'll be looking forward to it. Katie couldn't help but be affected by Naruto's energetic disposition. Well, see you later. It was nice talking to you, Naruto waved as he walked away. I guess I can say the same thing, you're not a lying JRK like Goichi. Katie walked to her next, feeling a lot more cheerful than she usually was. She had not been in the best of moods since she got her heart broken by Goichi for his two-timing. Perhaps Naruto has rubbed off some of his positivity on her. Speaking otherworldly foods, I wonder if he has eaten soufflé before, said Katie thoughtfully to herself. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 3. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Hussbek on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.